Okay, in this video, we're just going to have a quick look at conditional formatting. And the idea of conditional formatting is to just provide a little bit more visual context to numbers that you give. So it's our old friend, the sales figures, and we're just going to select them. And we're going to select them individually. So we're going to select product A, and we're going to include a data bar. Now, what a data bar does is it just kind of shows, if you've got a group of numbers, how far along we are relative to the maximum number. So you see here, we're going to click, and you see 9205 is the maximum number in this column, and we can see how the other numbers compare to that number in terms of how far how far the blue bar goes across. So in 7049, obviously the percentage is 7049 divided by 9215, and that's proportion is how far the blue bar goes across. So all we were doing here is we're just adding a different color data bar to each column. And, we're looking kind of at this example within the column. We could actually do it within the entire group, and we would like the maximum would be the maximum in the entire table. But here we're just kind of just looking. I think maybe the purpose of this analysis is just to look at which months have the highest sales. The next one is we're going to do a little data bar for total. And so we're going to do the analysis and think, oh my God, it's quite hard to see a pattern here. So let's just look at the total. So we've got a new column here, total, and we're going to do sum. Just basically select everything else. And I want a second column called total, and I'll show you why in a minute. But I don't want the actual heading. Now I'm going to Control C, or I'll just do it. So select this, and then Control C or copy. Now I would paste, but paste isn't going to work because it just automatically moves along and takes the sum of the last 5. So that wouldn't actually work. So I'm going to do paste and then paste values. So we get exactly the same number. And being pedantic, let's format it as the same as everything else. Now, the reason we've got 2 is we want to show the total and also show it in bar form. Now, we're going to conditionally format this. So again, we want to do conditional formatting, data bars, gradient fill. Actually, we're going to do solid fill this time. And we already have the number. We don't really need the number twice. Now while we've got this selected, go to conditional formatting, manage rules. And this kind of shows the formatting rules, and we can edit it. And what I want you to do is to click show bar only, click OK again, and then we get the formatting rules to the right. Okay, so the third little example is just a heat map. And here a heat map is basically, we're kind of filling in colors relative to the values. So quite often you would aim for something like, maybe blue is very cold to red is very warm. In this example, we've got red is warmer and green is so red is higher and green is lower. And let's just go conditional formatting and color scales. Let's just do the first. Actually, sorry, in this example, green is high and red is low. So we can see here, this is the highest 103.50 and it's colored in green. And we go down to 2144, which is the lowest, which is colored in red. And we could actually, play around with the different color scales. This one's quite nice because it's like, you've almost got the neutral in the middle. This is almost one color. This is a single color scale, another single color scale. Red versus blue, etc., etc. So just whatever you prefer. And then the final one is we're going to kind of do icons. I'm going to select this, and here the icon will kind of show, how far along the value is. So conditional forecasting icon set. So let's just play around. Here we have green for the high, yellow for the median, red for the low. We can play around with sets of 4 or 5. We can play around with different shapes. We can play around with indicators, little golfing flags, etc. So let's just click this. Now let's edit the formats of conditional forecasting manage rules. Edit rule. Now what you see here, the value, we're looking at the percent, and we're looking at the percent of what we would do is we'd have the highest value minus the lowest value is the range. So here the range would be, what's my lowest value? It's about 2,500. So it'd be roughly just under 7,000. Sorry, just under 8,000. And we look at how far along we are in the range. You know, are we basically above 2/3 of the range? Are we below 1/3? And let's just change that. So like if we're in the top 20% of the range, then we're green. When we flag as a poor month, as a really good month, sorry. And we're below 20% of the range, we flag as red. I mean, you can also choose other things. You can actually do it on the actual data percentile, where you order everything and say the top 20% is green, the middle, what would now be 60% would be yellow, and the bottom 20% would be red. But here we'll just stick with percent based on the range. Click OK. And then we have our final values. And you see now that we have a lot more yellows, and we're flagging kind of red, you know, less reds and less greens. And I mean, in this instance, I've just wanted to follow what the bug does, but in reality, you probably wouldn't want to. Maybe the products might be on different scales anyway, so you might want to only really do that within the actual columns. But here we are. No, taken together, conditional formatting is nice. You know, it's a flexible tool. And I think sometimes people, if they see numbers, they just almost freeze with numbers. To give some sort of visual clue while still displaying the numbers can actually be quite useful in spreadsheets.